This episode is brought to you by Netflix. This Monday night, witness the end of an era. John Cena takes center stage for his final appearance ever on Monday Night Raw. One last match, one unforgettable farewell. Come celebrate the legacy of a true WWE legend. Monday Night Raw, November 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, only on Netflix. Be there for the moment everyone will be talking about.
Okay, now that we're recording.
Now that we're recording, definitely. Give us another one. Wait. Nothing beats them. That sounds disturbingly like it could be you.
I can't burp, so it's not me.
What do you mean you can't burp? That's a Prince Andrew defense. I can't burp. I can't breathe. Can you not?
It's a known condition, and to fix it, you have to get Botox injected behind your vocal cords or something to loosen up the muscles in your throat to
allow. If you can't burp, does that mean that you have to go around farting a lot? What happens to all that gas?
No comment.
Quiet Riot.
Hello and welcome to Quiet Riot Sunday School, the fiscal drag to our Thursday show tax hike. I'm Naomi.
And I'm Kenny.
How are you doing, Kenny?
I'm alive and kicking. And I've been enjoying your flatulence machine rather too much. I think Quiet Riot has taken a very, very dark or deep brown turn this week.
Why have we been so fart-focused this week?
Alex, that's it. And if you're listening, mate, you bear full responsibility for this terrible lean into flatulism.
I've got a lovely cup of tea. It is very cold and dark and wet and gloomy and November-y, and that normally makes for a very unhappy Naomi. But talking to you with a nice cuppa is a good remedy.
Well, I'm with you now. I hate the winter nights. Dark nights are tough for a lot of us, aren't they? And at some point, we should probably do another episode on the stupidity of messing about with our time clocks, with our British
sure, BST all the way.
Just exactly. Stop wasting these precious hours of daylight. There are so few of them already. It would save us a fortune. So that's a topic for
you and the Scottish farmers to negotiate.
Totally. Goodo. Well, before we get going properly, a big, ginormous thank you to the dozens of gorgeous supporters who joined us from all around the world, it must be said, for our Ask Us Anything session, which happened online on Thursday of this week. Now, one of them had the bright idea of us having a festive knees up, or at least a virtual one before the year is out. So if you too would like to give us an under the mistletoe virtual snog, head on over to ko-fi.com/quietriotpod and sign up for as little as £5 a month to be sure to get an invite to that. Oh.
Well, Kenny, we can't not talk about the budget rumours. The whole will they, won't they on raising income tax thresholds, income tax hikes, the 4D chess that Rees is having to play to balance the demands of backbenchers and the demands of the financial markets.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we're going to have to try to wade through that quagmire, whatever our views on it. And speaking of mountains of shite, there's a littering story that's captured quite a lot of attention that I'd like to chat with you about.
And if we have time, we can take a moment to laugh about Peter Mandelson getting papped, having a little street wee after leaving George Osborne's dinner party. Because I want to know, where is the most inappropriate place you and I have been caught short?
Not together, I hope.
Not yet.
And listeners, if you want to see that video, it's going to cost you more than £5 on Ko-Fi, I can tell you right now. Let's go.
Quiet Riot. The Conservatives are now the party of high tax. On their watch, the tax burden is the highest in 70 years. I worked as an economist at the Bank of England before entering politics. I know what it takes to run a successful economy. I believe in sound money and in public spending that's kept under control. I did not come into politics to raise taxes on working people. So My promise to you is this. Labour will not put up your income tax, national insurance, or VAT.
For months, it seems the government has been preparing to break its manifesto pledge and raise income taxes at the budget. 2 weeks ago, the Chancellor gave a speech in the City of London saying we must each do our bit. And this week, in a radio interview, remarked that it would be, of course, possible to stick with the manifesto commitments, but that would require things like deep cuts in capital spending.
Well, look, I will set out the choices in the budget. It would, of course, be possible to stick with the manifesto commitments, but that would require things like deep cuts in capital spending. And the reason why our productivity and our growth has been so poor these last few years is because governments have always taken the easy option to cut investment in rail and road projects, in energy projects, in digital infrastructure. And as a result, we've never managed to get our productivity back to where it was before the financial crisis.
And so everyone from politicians to lobby hacks, financiers, and indeed the OBR were anticipating the 2 up, 2 down budget. Income tax would rise by tuppence, while national insurance would be cut by tuppence. Though this would break the manifesto pledge, it would give the Chancellor a little more fiscal headroom and avoid significant cuts to public expenditure. But all of that's now up in the air. Following pressure from Labour backbenchers petrified of being cast as unpopular as the Lib Dems following their U-turn on tuition fees way back in 2010, Rees has apparently drafted an alternative budget, a smorgasbord of taxes ranging from a gambling levy to new property taxes, and in place of income tax hikes, a cut to income tax thresholds. As the markets woke to this news on Friday, there was a not insignificant spike in 10-year gilt rates to about 10 basis points higher at 4.53%. And the pound, well, it was 0.5% lower at $1.3129 after trimming itself in a 0.6% drop. So again, not insignificant. Naomi, putting the economics of all this aside, what's the politics of what's going on?
So when Rees gave that speech to the city, it finally felt like after months and months of speculation about, will she break her fiscal rules? Will they break the manifesto pledge? We were finally admitting the reality of the economic situation, that taxes would indeed have to go up. And the bond markets appeared happy to accept that honesty. Paying today for better public services tomorrow. And yes, Rees will have factored in anger over the manifesto pledge being broken, anger from the left for not doing more on asset taxation, anger from Reform for daring to exist. But the gamble was that it would help raise revenues to pay for things that people care about, really notably bringing NHS waiting lists down. And that's something she has talked a lot about, as well as all of our immense debt repayments. So what changed? Well, in what has become classic Starmer government mode, they fluffed the comms on a change of direction. What do I mean by that? Well, yes, you're right. The backbenchers had become increasingly agitated about tax rises on working people and the breaking of the manifesto pledge. And of course, there was this weird briefing from inside Number 10 itself that Wes Streeting, not in Number 10, was launching a coup. And all of those things will have added pressure to do a U-turn, much like they saw over the welfare cuts. Huge internal pressure, facing rebellion, facing coups. This is not what our party can live with. Let's do something differently. But there was something else that happened alongside all of that, which is that the government was in receipt, apparently, of more optimistic forecasting, which meant that Rees could raise more money without having to do such big income tax hikes. And if reports are to be believed, it showed an improved economic forecast from the OBR that puts the fiscal black hole at 20 billion rather than that anticipated 30 billion.
Right.
Except that latter part is not what got briefed out. So this golden opportunity to go out front-footed and go, great news, forecasts have improved. That means we don't have to tax you all so much. But no, it was the first bit that got briefed out. Government loses control of the narrative, and the write-up was all about internal party pressure to stick to the manifesto pledge. Cue an early Friday spike in those 10-year gilts you talked about, and a lot of speculation that the government has once again landed in a position of upsetting everyone and pleasing no one, because they advertised their willingness to break the pledge and hike taxes, and are now not going to reap the cash upside of doing so if indeed they do go for this more smorgasbord approach. The smorgasbord approach is sort of being seen as taxing things in a way that are a little bit more volatile when it comes to income streams that are not necessarily known to pay off in the way that it's very difficult to avoid an income tax hike from hitting you. And so it's a kind of more known when it comes to the cash front. As we record, which is late on Friday, that, as I understand it, is where the politics of it all has landed them. And surprise, surprise, not in a great place.
What on earth is going on? I understand that there was one school of thought for a little while that said, do you know what, they're just painting a really bleak picture. So when tax rates only go up by a penny or whatever, everybody will go, phew, not as bad as we thought. But what I couldn't believe is that they were setting themselves up to get involved in a debate about putting taxes up. A debate that was going to paint them into a corner where they were even more unpopular than they were in the wake of the winter fuel payments fiasco. There was just no way on God's green earth that this wasn't going to put them under huge amounts of pressure.
Yeah.
The question then being, if you know you're going to be under huge amounts of pressure, why would you even start this process when you know that it's just a huge U-turn that's coming down the road at you? It really does seem so amateur hour.
In fairness to them, I think the black hole they inherited was much worse than they believed it to be when they wrote the manifesto. I do think that they were hoping for a much more ambitious reset with the EU than the one that ultimately France allowed the EU to offer, and have continued to drag their feet since in terms of getting mandates to progress various elements of it. So the levers they had at their disposal were fewer, not only immediately after getting the keys to number 10 and opening up the cash till and seeing what was actually there, but also in terms of what they've been able to get from trade negotiations. And I doubt that anyone foresaw Trump's behaviour over tariffs hitting them as hard as they have. I've got less sympathy for the arguments about global turmoil and conflict. The Gaza situation had been going on long before Labour won the election, as had the war in Ukraine. So I think you have to have priced those in, to be honest, and I have less sympathy for those as an excuse. So being extremely generous to them, the U-turns on manifestos, I do think are more forgivable. The bit that's unforgivable is the constant mishandling of comms. I mean, this week alone, we've had several of them, of course, starting with the BBC stuff over the weekend and not being as strident as many would have liked in defending the BBC.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you have the whole issue over Number 10 effectively launching a leadership campaign against itself by briefing out the West Streeting stuff, and then Starmer abjectly failing to chastise anyone for that leak and where it came from. And I just don't think anyone believes that people like Pippa Crerar aren't solid when it comes to claiming that a source was indeed from within Number 10 and was senior.
Yeah, I agree with
He's
that.
He's just weak, and then he can't comms his way out of it.
That was the next question I was going to ask you, because we've looked at the political side, we've touched on the economic side, but the personnel side I find fascinating. We know the rows that there have been around Morgan McSweeney. We know the rows there's been around Labour's comms. This is yet another example of them willfully walking into a trap that they've set themselves for themselves. I mean, what do you think it tells us, if anything, about Starmer and indeed Rees, two people who are relatively grey, technocratic, allegedly safe hands? Are we starting to find out too much about them because of this pattern that's developed over the last year?
Well, I mean, if you wind back to that awful situation in the Commons where Rachel Reeves was crying, and she'd obviously, been dealt some extremely bad news and had some kind of horrible altercation with colleagues. The markets didn't like that. They did not like the prospect of her going and the rumours that surrounded that. But I think where we landed today or this weekend, is that actually they don't really like what she's got up her sleeve either. And so that line of defense of, oh, well, we've got to keep her and we've got to keep him because the markets like these technocrats. If you're not even, I mean, the thing about being a good technocrat is that you are competent at managing everything, even if you are not the key communicator.
Exactly.
You manage how the comms are done by better people. But this week we saw them launch their own briefing against an alleged coup by their best communicator of the Prime Minister, the day that they themselves had put that great communicator up to do the broadcast round.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, wasn't it?
So, of course, Wes pretty well handles it and does his usual thing of coming across much more fluent, confident, and self-assured in rebutting it all, just further highlighting why he is so much better at that kind of thing than the Prime Minister himself.
Quiet, riot.
Some execs want Gen AI everywhere. Others think it's basically a shredder for intellectual property. And your people? Yeah, they're already using it. Okay, picture this. Someone pastes the Q4 strategy doc and client list into a free AI tool and it's no longer yours. Harmonic Security warns people before they paste in sensitive data, so you can say yes to Gen AI and still protect what matters most. Visit harmonic.security before your crown jewels end up in a chatbot.
Quiet, riot.
And zooming out, looking to next year, the Labour Party apparatchiks who are now having to start thinking about how they can put together a meaningful campaign on the streets for the upcoming local elections. I mean, they're going to have a really miserable Christmas, aren't they? They haven't got anything at this stage that they can take to their troops to gee up the teams that they need to go out and knock on doors and hit the streets and do that hard work that every election involves.
And this is where I think it is unfair because they are doing good things. NHS waiting lists have come down, albeit nowhere near as much as everyone needs them to, but the trend is going in the right direction. The minimum wage has gone up. But I know people who were on the minimum wage who didn't know that it had gone up.
Right.
And, you know, there's just two examples of things that have happened and have been good. There are many, many more. And the problem is, when you've got deeply unpopular people doing really good things, you don't get the political capital from it. Or people just, you know, they kind of hate you, or they begin to hate the good thing that you've done, even though they're meant to love it.
And the big thing that we've all struggled with is that time and time again, we scream out to Labour to give us some reason to believe. You know, if you're doing good stuff, you do have a machine that should be able to amplify, despite the difficult media landscape that they face, obviously, but should be able to amplify a relatively simple message that involves some measure of positivity, you know, particularly in the lead up to Christmas. But they just seem incapable of doing that. You know, they're so Grinch-like in their policy announcements.
Yeah. I mean, and there's just such a lack of bravery and, you know, I've said the word weakness a couple of times. You know, we just see time and time and time again, the government failing to do the right thing because they think it'll hurt them and then cocking it up and it hurting them anyway. And as I said, you know, with this sort of smorgasbord budget pivot, if it is indeed what they go ahead with, in a way, the damage has been done with those who are angry with them for breaking a manifesto pledge because they clearly were going to do it and wanted to do it, and are now not going to get the cash uplift from that, but are potentially going to be down on the cash because of the more tricky revenue streams that they are going to try and go after, which I don't disagree with, by the way. I mean, I think a gambling levy is long overdue.
Yeah.
And I would love many more wealth taxes in there, and I'd love to see some big windfall taxes on the energy companies, potentially on the banks as well. really, really, really ultra high net worth people getting an extra 1% or whatever. It's this sort of lack of bravery and lack of vision. And when you haven't got a vision and a guiding North Star, when you're in a tricky wicket, what do you fall back onto? Whereas if you have that, if you've got that sort of core value set of the country you're trying to create, the way of life in Britain that a Labour-led government will be delivering for you, then it's much easier in a sticky wicket to default to, okay, this is how I get myself out of it because this is what we're trying to achieve. And because they've never really set that out, A, they don't have it up their sleeve as part of their own arsenal, but voters also don't know why they're doing any of it either.
I was having a discussion about this earlier this week with somebody, and I was talking about the importance of charisma in politics. It's always been something that's quite important. But in the modern era, where cameras and microphones and people trying to trip you up are absolutely everywhere, even more so than in the age of Kennedy, when the charismatic TV performer really started to come into their own, you've got to, as part of your toolkit, have the ability to turn on the charm. It doesn't have to be sleazy charisma. Farage has got sleazy charisma. He's very good at what he does in terms of who he's appealing to. But leaders, and there's more than one of them in Labour in particular, who lack that ability to explain, to plug into people's emotions. I think that's what I'm getting at. I think it's a potentially fatal flaw, because while we all know there are really difficult and grown-up decisions that have to be made in a difficult world, with an economy that was inherited, that was in a difficult position, in a country that's in a state of change, in a continent that's in a state of change, in a world that's also in a state of change. And yet, ultimately, voters have to be given a reason to care. It's not enough to say to them, bad times are coming and more bad times are coming and more bad times are coming because it's a tough old world. You have to give them some reason to believe that there are better times coming. There has to be something specific.
And that breeds an uptick in spending.
Yes.
Right? The interplay between feeling and projecting excitement and buoyancy and cool Britannia and, good times are coming. That in itself spurs on people to go out and enjoy themselves a bit more, and it kind of snaps people out of a collective depression, makes them more productive, and round and round and round we go. But what we have at the moment is just this declinist approach. Everything's just going to keep on getting worse. There are so many economic headwinds globally. We've got this mad dude over in America slapping tariffs on everybody. We've got all these wars around the world that we're trying to help out with, and that's disrupting our supply chains. We've got an aging population at home. Nobody wants to have any lovely young immigrants come in to help fill the vacancies we've got in the jobs market, and to help prop up our ailing public services. So unfortunately it's bad, and we're just going to try and keep things from getting bad rapidly. They're just going to get bad slowly, and then you're in terminal decline territory. And I just can't bear that we haven't got anyone prepared to talk up the possible within government. We do within other parties at the moment, but within government,
I can't imagine Zach Polanski making this mistake.
No, exactly. Or indeed, some people in SNP implied, and Lib Dems, and to an extent, a little bit occasionally in the Tories too. And certainly Farage, who's coming at it from a fascist perspective, frankly. All we need to turn the country around is to, have far, far, far fewer immigrants.
There's a huge issue here, though, because business and politics and life itself, they're all literally a confidence game. That sounds very flippant. It's not meant to sound flippant. But if you take confidence out of the city, the markets will take a hit. Gilt prices will take a hit as well. If you take confidence out of politics, well, you see what's happening when that happens. And as you alluded to, when you take confidence out of the population at large, they go and hide.
Indeed. But this is going to move really fast. Kenny, I suspect you and I are going to have to jump on a top up to this show before it goes out on Sunday morning. But if not, listeners, of course, we're going to keep bringing you up-to-the-minute stuff as we get it on the budget over the next fortnight, and we've got a budget special lined up with an economist to help unpack all of it, what it's going to mean for you, for the country, and for our body politic.
Quiet Riot.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana. Quiet Riot.
Underground, overground, wombling free. The wombles of Wimbledon, common are we. Making good use of the things that we find. Things that the everyday folks leave behind.
Now, I know a lot of you listen to this podcast while out walking the dog. So, firstly, a special hello to all the Quiet Riot doggos out there. But dog walking should fundamentally be a relaxing affair, a chance to unwind, listen to your favourite show, take in the fresh air. But, you know, there are some hazards that can up your stress levels, as I know all too well. Squirrels, sheep poo, fox poo, which Wrigley likes to roll in. And, of course, a very human-induced hazard, litter. The worst sort of littering is fly tipping, because you can't just pop an old mattress and an Amstrad monitor in a poo bag and take it to the nearest bin. And this week, a particularly egregious example of fly tipping has hit the headlines. Wider than a canal, 20 foot high, 500 feet long, a river of rubbish has appeared in a field between the River Cherwell and the A34 near Kidlington. It is such an abhorrent sight that Callum Miller, the Liberal Democrat MP for Bicester and Woodstock, raised the issue in Parliament, saying it was threatening an environmental disaster. And I'm telling you, if you've seen the photos of it, it ain't threatening. It is an environmental disaster. There is no way it is not already having a severely negative impact on the biosystem around there. Kenny, it sounds like this is an environmental disaster already. I think it is from looking at the photos.
Yeah, absolutely.
What have you managed to unearth?
Well, I was like you when I saw it. It's made the BBC now, this story, and it was one of the top 3 stories on the BBC. And, you know, and we're talking about rubbish. It's not usually what you see at the top of the BBC website. When I looked at the video, somebody sent a drone up and flew over this canal-sized pile of rubbish. I really thought, do my eyes deceive me? You know, how is this possible? And, you know, to your point about it being an environmental disaster, it absolutely is. Some of the rubbish from the top of the pile, because that's how tall it is, has started to fall over. And it's now only 15 feet from the River Cherwell, which itself is a tributary of the Thames. So there are big issues literally downstream from what's happening here.
And what's in it? Like, we're literally talking like household waste.
Well, we don't even know, because it's become quite hard to distinguish any particular bits of waste, because whoever's doing this is fairly professional. It appears to have been shredded with earth mixed in as well. I mean, it's really pro level.
So it's like an industrial
It is. And
dump.
somebody's taken I think they've taken heat sensing cameras out there, and the waste itself is now starting to heat up.
But that's not one lorry load.
No.
Right, that is several
No.
truckloads, if not more, over a
There's
period of time.
dozens of truckloads there.
How have they not been caught? How is there not cameras watching? I mean, we are the most surveilled country on earth, famously. There must be number plate recognition data out there to show which big truck has turned in there within the last however many months.
Well, there was a case a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, that I recall, where a man and a woman were done for dumping large amounts of waste, and they'd just stolen the truck. They'd gone out, pinched a huge lorry, filled it with lots of stuff, and then just dumped the truck as well. He was convicted. I think she got off. The short reason, of course, is always money. Putting cameras up is a really obvious solution in hotspots for this sort of dumping, but it costs money. Now, of course, if you spend a little bit of money up front, you save a whole heap of money as well as a whole heap of misery down the line. But we all know that that's not how it works. When budgets are being set, nobody's looking down the line. They're just looking at how little money they got to spend here and now.
Well, what are the Environment Agency doing about it?
Well, they've put an order to stop anybody else coming to the site, and they said they're looking into it. But they've got limited resources as well. And, mark my words, they will be looking into it with whatever resources they've got right now, because it's made the front page of the BBC website. There's nowhere to hide. But it's a particularly egregious example of fly tipping, but it's also a really, really important reminder that this problem has been getting worse and worse and worse in this country over recent years.
Yeah.
It's not a new problem, but it is a growing problem.
But why? Is it because you actually have to pay to get rid of waste?
Yes. Germany, as you'd expect, has got a ruthlessly efficient system. They've got really high recycling rates. They've got really easy disposal points, properly stiff penalties that get enforced as well. In this country a few weeks ago, we had a woman being fined for tipping the remains of a coffee down a drain.
Oh, yeah. No, I've got German friends, and if you get caught emptying your recycling on a Sunday, you get fined.
Right.
It's you're allowed to do it for free at these times, but if you do it outside of that, you will get fined.
That's right. And they're pretty brutal about it, aren't they?
To know the cost of everything and the value of nothing is what we so often come back to when talking about public policy. But surely the answer is to make it cheaper / free to dispose, and then heavily penalise if you break that.
Yeah.
So you're incentivizing the good behaviour.
Absolutely. The carrot and stick approach requires a carrot as well as a stick. That's the thing. And that's what other countries have done. In places like Japan, you can't even chuck out a TV without registering its serial number to make sure it's properly disposed of. And crucially, in countries like Japan, your neighbours will grass you up. They think you've been doing dodgy stuff. They give a damn about these things. But there are things that we can all do as individuals. We're not utterly powerless. The most obvious thing that we can all do, and I'm not saying you would do this, listeners to Quiet Riot, but stop hiring dodgy blokes with vans off of Facebook. More than half of all fly tipping apparently starts with somebody who thought paying 20 quid in cash for rubbish removal was an absolute bargain. If you don't check that the person you're giving your money and your rubbish to is licensed, you're effectively sponsoring landfill cosplay
your crime
in your local woods. Yeah. And here's the thing, you're the one that's likely to get fined. Councils are skint. They're not going after the hard targets. They'll go after the easy targets. And if they find an envelope with your name and address on it, you are going to get a fine. And if they catch the fly tippers, they'll deal with them. But if all they find is the evidence, it's you that's going to be getting into trouble.
So maybe we're going to have to do what some other celebrity broadcasters have been doing this week. One who podcasted nonstop for 24 hours and raised a load of money. Others have been doing 24 hours of running and blah, blah, blah. Maybe we need to do a sponsored go and tidy up this thing for charity.
Ooh, the great Quiet Riot Black Bin Bag Challenge.
Yeah, we'll all meet up in Cherwell.
There better be a lot of us. There's a thing, I saw a figure that last year, it was on one of the waste disposal companies' websites, I think. And so I've not had a chance to check it, but I have no reason to doubt it. They were saying that there was more than 1 million illegal dumps last year in England alone, which comes in at more than 2 every minute. It's absolutely non-stop. And it's going up. It's gone up 1/5 in the last 5 years. And the data probably, as is likely with this sort of information, it probably underreports the true scale.
Not only do some countries do free recycling, free disposal sites, dumps, and access to your local authority dump, etc., but they pay you if you collect loads of plastic waste, you can hand it in at, big machines outside major supermarkets, and you get a few euro out for your efforts.
There was, Scotland was looking at a recycling scheme, which is all blown up, and now one of the big recycling companies, the last time that I am reading about it, they're trying to sue the Scottish government because the scheme has been killed off, basically.
Oh.
It was too expensive, which, that's what I came back to right at the beginning of this slop. Is that always somebody's going to say, we don't have the money to spend up front, so you're just going to have to deal with it. And let's not forget, the problem isn't going to get any lesser because, fast fashion hasn't stopped.
Oh, Temu.
Well, we all use it, but...
I don't.
You don't?
Well, I don't use Temu. Never bloody used it.
It's just a matter of time. The first time you spot how cheap pens and other stuff are there, you're going to go, do you know what?
I can't even afford cheap shit. When I worked in accounting for sustainability back before I was a campaigner, and was just a mere humble chartered accountant, we spoke with the woman in charge of a major retailer's clothes line, so a major supermarket's clothes line. I will not disclose which supermarket. And they told us that their clothes are designed to last 7 washes in the washing machine.
7?
And that there is no point in them making things that last longer because they're out of fashion by the time something has been worn and washed 7 times. And I just couldn't believe it. I was just stunned. This is going back 15 years.
You think you'd have to do some quite clever chemistry to get to the point where your clothes are going to disintegrate after 7 washes. That's proper engineering right there.
Just intense bobbling, the seams being barely stitched together, buttons that are just going to fall off and don't come with spares, that kind of thing. Yeah, really depressing. So cheer us up. Come on, Kelly. How do we make this better?
We've got, like you said, we've got cameras everywhere. Now, if you go to Singapore, I remember from my first trip to Singapore being warned by people, don't try and take chewing gum in.
Yeah, I heard that too.
It's banned. You can get fined a couple of $1,000s for trying to import chewing gum. If they catch you with it at the airport, they're going to take it off you. And if you try to dispose of it in an inappropriate fashion, you might as well just staple your credit card to the rubbish to speed things up, because they will absolutely skin you. And quite right too. It's something I was thinking about that I don't remember I'm cursing myself now, but I don't remember the last time I sat on or stood on a piece of chewing gum. It used to be chewing gum, fag butts, and
white dog poo.
White dog poo, that's right, full of ash. And those were the sort of bits of litter that absolutely, literally littered my childhood and my teenage years. And they've all kind of gone. The fag butts have gone because people have stopped lighting things on fire and putting them in their mouths. That's good. The dog poo has changed because dogs eat far healthier food and people have got doggy poo bags. But actually, chewing gum as being something that you have to every couple of weeks scrape off your trousers because you sat in it on a bus or whatever, or you've dragged it onto your carpet, doesn't seem to be a thing. So either I'm being incredibly lucky, or it's evidence that we do culturally change. There are ways of making people behave in a slightly more, just well-mannered and decent way. Reasons to be optimistic.
Quiet, Riot.
What I bought? A new Blink Mini 2K Plus smart security camera. What I got? 2K clarity sharp enough to see every detail of home when I'm away. Plus audio like I'm in the room, not with my bestie traveling to another city. Plus easy plug-in setup to install faster than skipping through podcast ads. But you'd never skip ads, right? Plus, I got all of this for just $49.99. Blink Mini 2K Plus. Mini camera, max performance. Shop now at amazon.com/blink.
Quiet, Riot.
Speaking of illegal dumps, this week, former friend of the late paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and former UK ambassador to the USA, Peter Mandelson, was caught doing something utterly revolting. He had dinner at George Osborne's house. Unfortunately for Mandy, and after presumably imbibing much liquid, he forgot to visit the lav before heading off for home. And after 2 Ubers allegedly cancelled on him, he had no choice but to relieve himself against a tree in leafy Notting Hill. The campaign for more public loos starts here. But Kenny, it's happened to the best of us. So where is the place you found yourself busting for a waz, but nowhere to go?
It's basically every weekend of my life since I turned 16. There's 3 pints in and you think, am I going to break the seal? Because if I break the seal now, there's no going back. So if you spot me shambling down the street looking like I've got a big beach ball full of liquid stuffed down my shirt, that is me. And I do have a big beach ball full of liquid stuffed down my shirt. And I'm desperately not trying to do a Mandy. In terms of sort of like places I've found where I had nowhere to go, there are several that spring to mind. I'm going to choose my most uncomfortable one. And it goes back to the 90s. So listeners, you can think now, at least he's improved. He doesn't behave this way anymore. But I was at a fucking, excuse my language, but I hate that, Van Morrison concert in Edinburgh. And it was kind of a big thing. Van Morrison, he was very famous, and I'd never seen him play. And so myself and a couple of friends went to see him playing live. Be Van Morrison, it was he had his daughter with him. So he'd come on, sing a song, and then she'd come on and play fiddle or blow a flute or sing a song or two. And then he might grace us with his presence for another song, but then he'd bring his daughter back on again. Now, I hadn't paid to see his daughter. I didn't mind her being there, and she was very talented and all of that. But I came to see him. So after an hour and a half of this nonsense, I was really, really not in a very good frame of mind anyway. And I'd had a couple of pints because there was nothing else to do. The music wasn't happening. So hour and a half in, or maybe slightly less, and the main concert sort of comes to an end, and I'm thinking, well, there's got to be an encore because he hasn't sung Brown Eyed Girl yet. And even Van Morrison isn't going to deny us that, surely. So I got that twinge where your bladder goes, pay attention, pay attention.
Early warning signal.
Klaxon coming out in 5 minutes, mate. Just pay attention. So I'm there, and sure enough, Van Morrison comes back home with his daughter, and he sings 3 songs as his encore, which was more songs than he'd done back to back for the rest of the evening. I was so wound up. So he sung his 3 songs. The crowd go, yay, amazing. We've actually got a bit of a concert. He comes back on, does another mini encore of 3 songs. Now, the klaxon's going off in my trousers at this point. Aye. He does a 3rd encore, and I think it was 3 songs again. He might have been 3 encores in now, and I've got the kidney klaxons going off now, round my back.
You're sweating urine at this stage.
Do you know, you'll laugh about this. When you say I'm sweating urine, I was in so much discomfort, and there was people on either side. I couldn't get out. I'm rammed in, and they're all going, he's playing so many encores, it's brilliant. So much discomfort. I had a cable knit sweater with me that I'd taken off. I put my cable knit sweater on in the vain hope that I would literally sweat some of my pee out. I was in such discomfort. He comes back on and plays a 4th flipping encore. At this point, I'm just swearing. I've got nowhere to go. I can't wee in the playhouse. Finally, we get the 5th and final encore. 5 encores. And he plays Brown Eyed Girl. The lights come up, and I can't move. I'm just buggered.
Get me a pint glass now.
A pint glass? I need that beach ball. So everybody else is now approaching the same sort of levels of discomfort, I suspect.
And there's only 2 loos.
Down the front, and so there's huge queues to even get out of the auditorium. Then there are huge queues to get to the toilets. Women are trying to elbow their way into the gents. People are trying to pee standing up who should not pee standing up. And it's just organised chaos. And the pain levels are at the weeping stage. And I'm thinking, this is permanent damage to my kidneys. This is ridiculous. And I finally into the loos.
You're crying urine at this stage. It's gone so far.
Do you know what? I should have done that because that would at least have got some fluids out of my poor suffering body. And I get into the loos where all the guys are having long, luxurious pees.
Yeah.
Because they've got gallons of stuff to get rid of. I get to the urinal and it's there and the pain is off the scale and there's salvation staring me in the face in the form of a bit of porcelain. I can't go. I'm stuffed. I'm standing there and I can't wee. I couldn't wee. And it wasn't performance anxiety. It was the pain was so much. And I realized that I couldn't leave because if I left, big problems. But if I stood there for too long, people are going to get me arrested or I'll just get my head punched in. And so there's just really embarrassingly inadequate trickle comes out, which is just enough to set the kidneys off again.
Yeah.
And from that day on, Van Morrison to me is somebody that I associate with piss. Sorry, listeners.
Well, he is my ex-boyfriend's godfather.
He's your ex-boyfriend's godfather?
Yes.
Have you ever met him?
Yes.
And
not a fun guy.
No.
Not a fun chappy. Well, I'm very sorry that you almost caused yourself renal damage. I mean, they say never miss an opportunity to go on TV or have sex, and I would add, or go for a wee when there's a nice loo. Even if you don't feel the urge, if there's a nice loo, go and have a little wee.
Why not? Why not indeed? My other half was in London at a big event this week. She was judging at a work event of some sort, and she ended up at a casino, as you do in London after one of these sort of events at the Contractor Awards. And she contacted me and she said, "Casino, it's amazing. It's casino-y and it's got drinks and it's got heated toilet seats."
Wow.
In the casino at Mayfair.
Yeah.
And honestly, heated toilet seats, I mean, that's a reason to move into them. You're absolutely right. I suspect you can
Japanese like them because they reduce the likelihood of stroke in young people and older people. Because because they have such an aging population. Apparently the shock of sitting on a cold loo seat is correlated to stroke. And so it's one of the reasons why Japanese households tend
if somebody said to me, "Don't go into the toilet and have a stroke," I'd be thinking something much ruder, to be quite honest.
Or Elvis Presley. Right, well, for me, Kenny, I was out on a hike with a female friend. And we both needed a wee. And it was a relatively secluded path, and there were quite a lot of trees around. So I was like, "You go, I'll keep watch." And classic. I did that. She does the whole crouching down thing that us girls have to do. And I mean, honestly, I heard her start to wee, and literally at that moment, this exuberant, oversized Andrex puppy Labrador comes galloping around the bend up towards us, followed by its human family. So I'm like saying to my friend, hurry up, there's a dog coming. She panics, slips backwards into the mud, waterproofed around her ankles. This delighted Labrador goes, "A game!" bounds over to her to rescue her or whatever. I get the giggles so badly. I was holding my stomach laughing, and I'm like, "No, this is it. I can contain myself no longer." Because needing a wee and then getting uncontrollable giggles is, you can have I am a Pilates girl. You can have a very strong pelvic floor, but that combination, the Hulk couldn't have the strength to hold that in. So then I have no option but to whip down my own trousers and knickers on the side of the path, and through tears of laughter and pee coming out of me, I have to apologise profusely to the Labrador family, who mercifully found it funny too. These two women, one flat on their back with their waterproofs around their ankles with a Labrador trying to bound all over them, and another one crouching, crying beside her. It was just so funny.
And listeners, if you want to see more of this, it's available on Naomi's OnlyFans site.
Look, if Shiwi, the Shiwi thing, that allows women, if they don't sponsor the podcast after this, I'm going to be very disappointed.
That has made me need to go for a wee just through laughter. I feel your pain. We should probably end the show now, shouldn't we? On a very soggy note. Let's bring Sunday school to a final prayer. Listeners, thank you ever so much for lending us your ears and putting up with our sort of pee-wee flavoured show this week. We love you so much for doing that.
Yep, thank you lots and lots and lots. And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, back us on Ko-Fi, and visit our bookshop. Christmas is coming. Books are always a brilliant gift, and it helps out your preferred independent book retailer, the author, and hopefully one of your favourite podcasts too.
We'll be back on Thursday with another bumper show. So until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't forget to have a safety pee. And remember to keep on writing. Just do it quietly.
We love you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Quiet Riot is an audio production by Cooler Heads with Naomi Smith and Andreou. Produced by Kenny Campbell. Music by Mariana Sangeeta. Artwork by Simona Canelu. And edited by me, Alex Rees.
Quiet Riot.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds low after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.